moderate part to
Yes.
okay, overnight.
Now
It's 11.
yeah, and the celebration
Yes.
turned into massacre.
Right. Yes. This year's celebration, Chinese New Year,
Lunar
and I've attended Lunar New Year's, perhaps you have as well. It's a wonderful event, and to think that someone would come in and with that type of spirit to destroy, it's just horrible.
I was reading that, well, if you, I would look at people magazine, and CBS, and I think CNN, and they have reason to believe that he was planning a second attack.
Right.
But something came up to thwart that, and then he took his self-inflicted gunshot.
Right, right. Yeah, a young man reported his evidence.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, who was there at the first scene and managed to wrestle the gun away from him. He thought he was going to die, and he managed to get the gun away from the gunman, and so that thwarted the second location.
72-year-old man.
Yes.
You have to wonder what, and he had a wife or ex-wife that
Right.
they didn't talk to,
Right.
but I don't remember anything really came out of that.
They're not sure if the motivation was that he was actually going for her, which really doesn't make sense why he would shoot so many other people. Right.
And so this man was Asian.
Yes.
And so that's what we're hearing, right? On the news, we're hearing Asian on Asian crime. That's what we're hearing all over the news, right?
No.
Oh, we're not hearing that.
No. It's almost a footnote, actually. They don't really emphasize that the way they would do when it's someone who's African descent. It's a footnote, and it's as if they don't even want to say that. It goes minutes before they even talk about that. Now, there's been cases where there's been assaults on Asian people, and they will show clips of black men, and you would think that only black men were assaulting Asian people. And they'll say, well, this person was a nice, lovely person, and they're just walking down the street. Here comes the big black boogie, black man, and it's terrible. Isn't this what these people do? Black criminal nature once again forces on this. Well, of course, yesterday that was not the case.
And many, many times, there's white on white crime and white on white shooting. You never hear that.
Let's read and learn together. Meet Mason. Written by Sherry Tate. Illustrated by David. Mason is a young, inspired learner. Walk with him as he uses his five senses to explore the world around him. Your young one can learn to identify shapes, numbers, letters, and more with Meet Mason. Available now on Amazon.com. Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee. To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
SocratesGarrettENT.com is a diversified firm specializing in recycled aggregates and crushed concrete. SocratesGarrettENT.com's recycled materials provide the construction industry with significant economic and environmental benefits by recycling clean concrete rubble into M.Dot grade rock materials. Recycled aggregates and crushed concrete can be applied to driveways, road construction, bank protection, parking lots, general bulk fills, and more. For more information, please call 601-896-0084 or visit us online at SocratesGarrettENT.com.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, Keepers of the Knowledge for People Who Speak the Truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippiLink.com and click on Home Delivery.
Walking on the freedom land. Ain't gonna let just said, and then on the national news, it seemed like they just want to dive into the height of emotionality of a situation and have no regard for the people that they're, trying to siphon that emotionality.
Right.
Apparently, there's a producer behind them that says, "Get the tears," or "Get the moaning," or what have you.
Right.
And I feel bad a lot of times on the national coverage for the people that they're talking to that have been traumatized, that are laying all that bare. And sometimes you see like these elongated pauses where the reporter is just waiting for that person to crack or break.
Right.
You've seen that?
Yes.
Sad.
We know that if it bleeds, it leads, but at the same time, to really have to put a person through that type of anguish just seems unnecessary.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad. So, and I'm sad. I mean, I was sad watching that, as I'm sure you were this weekend, and especially the context of turning a celebration into a massacre. I mean, it just it's just the saddest thing to wrap your head around, and then it reminds you too. You've got people in the world that are just really, really sick, and bad stuff happens.
Yeah. Sick and miserable, and want to make other people suffer.
Hurt me, hurt you.
Yeah.
And so now this just gets added to the list. What was it? February? About a year ago? Was it February or March? I don't have it in front of me right now. But Buffalo.
Right.
That guy. That guy had a thing. He was racist and he didn't like black people.
Right.
And he came from an hour away or something like that to a supermarket where he knew that black people shopped at.
Yes.
And killed 10 people.
Right. I mean, we're almost just waiting and holding our breath to see what the next horror will bring us. How many people dead and who and why.
But according to some people, this doesn't have anything to do with guns. Yeah, it got to do with people.
Right.
Because it's the people that pull the trigger.
Right.
Yeah.
But the guns are so easy to get, and some people just should not have guns. They're not mentally stable, and they're incapable of really being a responsible gun owner.
Right.
So what is the point of allowing them to have guns?
Right. Well, really tough stuff, and I would pray for those family members that their lives are changed now. Their lives will, truthfully, will never be the same.
Right.
Just one person's actions, one person's untreated illness, one person's hurt, one person's unchecked impulses.
Right. Yeah, but see, that's another thing too. When the assailant is not a black person, then they talk about the mental illness. They want to delve into what was the motive and what type of anguish was the assailant feeling at the time. And we just don't get that if the assailant is a black person.
If they're black, they're just bad.
Just bad.
It's not bad it's not mental health or emotional. They're just bad.
That's it. That's
especially
all.
The angry black man.
Yeah, no explanation. Just that's them. What do you expect? Right.
So far away from equality, and yet the wealthiest nation on earth, supposedly, and the most elevated, informed, knowledgeable. Some people say, everybody, other countries turn to us for help. Not everybody. No. Some people refuse our help.
Absolutely.
But so many people turn to us for help, and but we can't get a handle on this.
Right.
And you don't hear many people. I mean, relatively speaking, you don't hear people jumping from the rooftops about bringing about change.
No. Well, that would require attention,
Mm-hmm.
and unfortunately, they don't receive the attention.
I thought it was going to happen when those. You don't remember when that guy shot up the representative Congress peoples up there in D.C. playing softball?
Oh, right. Scalise, was hit.
I thought when that happened, there could be a shift.
Yeah.
But no.
Right. I thought there might be a shift with Sandy Hook because so many children
Yeah.
were murdered.
Some people still denying it happened.
I know. That's awful.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awful.
Very sad. Well, let's see. What else? We got about 7 minutes to go to the next commercial break. Where you want to go next? You got a preference?
Yeah, why don't we talk about Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and his recent action of blocking the Advanced Placement African American History course?
Yeah, I mean, where do you even begin? I mean, here's somebody that's, on the conservative side of things, and is talked about as a potential presidential candidate.
Right.
People measure all the time how he would do against Trump or other Republicans or whatever, and it just seemed to me like this comes out of left field. But then that inner voice clicks in, and I say, "Oh no, it's not out of left field.
No.
There's a design."
There's a design and there is a dog whistle. There's a dog whistle. But then there's something else. He has concerns about the curriculum.
Yes.
I have concerns about the curriculum
Okay.
because on one hand, you're telling me it's African American studies, and they are actually, from what I'm told, starting the history where the history belongs, which is in Africa. Whenever you hear about a course about the history of black people and it starts in slavery, you should know right then to discount it because it's not accurate.
Didn't start at the beginning.
Right.
They're picking it up partway through.
Right. It's like trying to build a brick wall and putting the first brick in the middle of the air. It's not substantial.
And so few people know that. I mean, I appreciate the fact that you know that and you articulate that, and I don't know if people really get that.
No, they don't, and they don't think about it because people aren't educated when it comes to black studies and black culture. One thing that DeSantis talked about was the prisons and about doing away with prisons, and that was part of the curriculum. Well, that would actually figure because in ancient African culture, there were no prisons. Our esteemed scholar, Dr. John Henry Clark, talks about the fact that there were no prisons, there were no orphanages, and there were no nursing homes. Because people weren't thrown away and
People
warehoused.
took care of one another.
Yes, people took care of people. And that is something that is absolutely consistent with black culture. So it would stand to reason why we would bring up that question again. Are prisons necessary? Are they obsolete? Is it something that we need to do, or are there successful alternatives? So I can understand that should be a part of the discussion. The other part of the discussion that they have entered into the curriculum is what they call queer theory. Now that isn't a part of black culture. It's not traditional. It's not indigenous to African people or African descendant people. That queer theory is something that needs to be separated from this discussion and from the curriculum because it's not ours.
Pardon me.
Not a problem. That's the problem that I see with it. So they have a few topics about that intersectionality and activism, where they're saying that intersectionality is fundamental to critical race theory and ranks people based on their wealth, race, gender, and sexual orientation. That's his position on it. My position is that it is outside of indigenous black culture. Then you have what's called queer studies, and they're labeled it black queer studies. And they've claimed we have to encourage and develop practices whereby queerness isn't a surrender to the status quo. It means that building forms of queerness that reject the given realities of the government and the market. Mm-hmm. So says Roderick Ferguson. But black queer studies is, again, something that has been appropriated, something that has been pushed on the culture, but it's not indigenous to the culture.
So I think, if I'm hearing you correctly, I think you're saying two things. Number one, there are some issues here that you wouldn't approve of, that you think need to be, altered, and yet at the same time, he's using it as a dog whistle.
Right. I think he's using the whole argument. I won't even say the queer part about it, but I think the dog whistle comes in with critical race theory and just overall, the question, the discussion of reparations, the discussion of African American history as a absolutely valuable study. Mm-hmm. And a truthful study. Mm-hmm. He doesn't want that, period. He doesn't, he wants the standard, which is basically ignoring it, or if you have to say something, you begin black history in enslavement.
Right.
And it comes out through Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, and perhaps Obama.
And now everything's okay.
Yeah, everything's okay.
That was
End of
then.
story.
We're good.
This is now, and and what are you complaining about? It wasn't you.
Sad.
Yeah.
Well, we're up to a commercial break, so again, we thank you for listening. Glad you're joining us. We're going to dip out for a couple of commercials, and we'll be right back with you.
Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
SocratesGarrettENT.com is a diversified firm specializing in recycled aggregates and crushed concrete. SocratesGarrettENT.com's recycled materials provide the construction industry with significant economic and environmental benefits by recycling clean concrete rubble into M.grade rock materials. Recycled aggregates and crushed concrete can be applied to driveways, road construction, bank protection, parking lots, general bulk fills, and more. For more information, please call 601-896-0084 or visit us online at SocratesGarrettENT.com.
And welcome back to Sizzling in Mississippi. Chris Young and Ma'ati Joan Prim co-hosting Black Woman and White Man at the Crossroads, trying to talk about all these issues that are going on that really end up being oppressive in nature and push us farther and farther away from, the vision of equality and respect and love for one another. We've been talking about the decision by the college board, supported by the governor down in Florida, block the AP African American Studies course that's been floated around 400 different schools well outside of Florida, but they want it stopped in Florida. And we've been talking about that, but on the break we had a question come in, Mati.
All right.
The question is, in your opinion, what should, you've articulated a few things that really don't probably belong in this curriculum. Not that they can't be talked about, but maybe not in this curriculum.
Right.
But the viewer asked, in your opinion, what should Black Studies include?
Black Studies should be about the history and the culture of Black people. What have Black people meant to other Black people?
Mm-hmm.
It should include Africa. In fact, the majority of the curriculum should be the study of the history of Africa.
Of Africa.
Right.
Because you can't understand anything that's happened here until you begin there.
Right. Because you're talking about millenniums of history of the oldest people, and where did that history occur? The majority of it occurred in Africa. Then when you bring it to America or to Europe or Australia, when you bring it outside of Africa, you will then understand what are the mores of our people, what are the folkways, what is the cultural belief systems of our people, what's sacred.
Instead of just that narrow lens that begins with slavery.
Right, and because right now it's like, what happened when Black people met white people? Really?
You're dismissing, as you said, millennia of experience, riches, advancement, successes, inventions, all sorts of, in every domain you could.
Right. So you're talking about identity, and the identity is lost. And that's one of the problems that we're having as Black people in America. It's affecting us to this day because we don't understand, we don't know who we are and who we have been. And we don't know that the greatness that we could possibly ever be is to be who we were.
And there's so many people today, not only do they not want that at all, but they're too, I'm saying ignorant, but not educated enough to realize the value of that. While at the same time, they want to just put the slavery experience here on the back burner because we're past all that. And we don't want to hurt the feelings of any little black, white boys and girls.
I mean, we wear T-shirts that say, we are our ancestors' greatest dream, wildest dream. No, we're not. No, we're not. No.
Yeah, we passed right by a whole lot to say something like that. We have to go back, return. It's called Sankofa. And so what it means is that we must look back and to rediscover our treasures, gather them, and bring them forward for our future to be what it's supposed to be. I think I've seen that term before somewhere in your store, maybe on a book, or maybe heard it on the screen that you have rolling in the store.
Right. And you might have seen a picture of a bird with a golden spear in its mouth, going forward but looking back.
Interesting. Well, very good. So a lot to be said about all this, and I think one of the things I'm going to take away, and I'm just guessing our listeners are going to take away too, is that something can look one way on the face when we get stories like this that become news bites, but there's really a whole lot more to it. And let's take time to get educated. And this piece that you found, the listeners, if you want to look at more of the details, more of the categories that have been broken out that Mati spoke about, and some that she didn't get to, Black Study and Black Struggle in the 21st Century, reparations, Black feminist literary thought, et cetera, you can go to the Florida Department of Education website and find this same handout that talks about the concerns that were found within this AP African American Studies course.
Yeah.
And we can all get a little bit better educated about it.
Right. Yeah, we should.
Very good. Well, we've got 12 or 13 minutes to go, and we had one more topic. Oh, okay, another question. Thank you. If I'm reading it right, can you narrow a question from a viewer? Can you narrow Africa down to where would start as it relates to the USA? In other words, I think you already maybe answered this, but I think the viewer's asking, well, what is the starting point? Is that the way you would interpret it?
Let's see, can you narrow Africa down to where it would start as it relates to the USA? Well, I mean, I could, but I think it's pointless.
So you're advocating for the best understanding. You start with the very beginning.
Right.
Of African history. Forget
Yes.
all about the USA. Learn about Africa. Learn
Right.
about what happened there.
Right.
Then learn about what led to, slaves being captured.
They
And
weren't slaves when they captured.
Pardon
African,
me.
yeah.
These Africans.
But that's
Yeah.
how it's taught. It's
Yeah,
taught that
yeah.
that slaves were captured and brought to no.
Yeah.
It was people who were Africans who were, kidnapped.
Kidnapped.
Yeah.
And
brought kicking
here.
and screaming, chained to the bottom of boats, And then that's where you can begin with the study of queer theory. You can begin it at the point where we're chained to the bottom of slave ships and we're force-fed, even if they have to knock out our teeth to feed us. Where the rapes occur, whether it's women, children, or men, all received that treatment, where they were beaten, where Africans were thrown overboard, and so many Africans were thrown overboard that sharks gained an appetite for human flesh. And sharks would follow these ships all the way from the coast of Africa to the coast of America, just waiting for bodies to be flung overboard.
And all this has nothing to do with America so far.
Right.
As your
Well, this is at this point is where it starts.
Is at the very beginning.
Yeah. But as that's something to note.
Yes.
But why were these particular people? Why was it that it was particularly African people that were chosen to come to the West and cultivate rice in America, where rice had never been cultivated before? Well, we knew how to do that. Animal husbandry, such as training wild horses, that was necessary.
And they knew about that.
Right. Okra and watermelon not having been grown here and grown. Who is going to give us, we have sugar cane here, but who is going to make that a prolific crop? Who is going to build City Hall in Jackson, Mississippi? Who is going to build the governor's mansion of Jackson, Mississippi?
Sure.
Who is going to build the White House in Washington, D.C.?
Right.
So
People that know how to do it.
people who know how to do it. So they're cherry picking when they go to Africa. They're not just throwing a wide net. They want the technicians They want the craftsmen. They want the intellectuals.
Specific.
Right, specific. They want the people who do horticulture and agriculture. They want the farmers.
And there were those there that were willing to go get those people, kidnap those people, and sell those people.
Okay, here's the thing. The lie that's always been told is that black people enslaved themselves. And we sold each other into slavery. That's stupid. Why would we do that?
Yeah.
First of all, we have to understand the cultural mores of a people, right? So African people look at the earth and say the earth belongs to God.
Mm-hmm.
African people look at people and animals and say people and animals belong to God. You can't sell people. I still don't believe in that. It's not even possible. You can write down on a piece of paper bill of sale, but it's not actually true. And we didn't do it. And they say, see, we were warring with each other and we needed guns, so we traded guns for people. Well, here's the thing about it. Guns don't evaporate. Where are they? Where are all these guns? You're talking about removing anywhere from 100 to 200 million people off of a continent, okay? And you're talking about a death rate that it's astronomical. You know, very few people survive this transatlantic hell. But even with this, let's say that there are guns in significant amount. If I am over a village of people and I trade somebody for a gun, when you come back to get me or more people that I don't want you to get, I have a gun.
Right.
So where was this? See, there's no mention of that. It's absolutely ridiculous. We have a lot of things in history that are ridiculous, and I think it's the reason why as children we're given fairy tales, so it makes us susceptible to believing that if I put on one crystal shoe,
Right. So,
Easter Bunny, Jack and the Beanstalk, all of this make it
Jolly Green John.
Yeah, it makes me susceptible to believing
So
this.
if that part's fiction, was it Western Europeans
It was
that went to that coast
it was the Portuguese
and finagled?
but even before them it was the Arabs.
Okay.
Right. And so the Arabs enslaved on the continent 60 million people. And so when you're talking about buying and selling, it's the Europeans dealing with the Arabs.
And you just don't. I don't think I've ever heard that before in my life.
Yeah. So, that's the truth.
Yeah.
But we don't get the truth. We get fairy tales and we get ways of, it's like a rapist, okay? What does a rapist say? They don't admit to raping women or men or whoever they're raping, their victim. They say that, that person wanted it. It was consensual.
Right.
What does a thief say? I didn't steal this. This is mine, or it was given to me.
Yeah. Yeah. So really, as best we would respond to the question from the listener is start at the very beginning with Africa history, and then work our way from there.
Right. You have to understand the culture and the mindset of people before you can get to the USA.
So informative. Thank you very much. And the last thing. We had it, and I always take a look at the Equal Justice Institute calendar, and today's date, it said that which was end up being 65 years ago today. KKK members forced a guy by the name of Willie Edwards Jr., a black man, to jump to his death from a Montgomery bridge. I'm just thinking of the reference point of 65 years today.
Yes.
That type of thing. Today we have other things going on. We don't as much as much.
We actually do.
Well, we have
Because every 28 hours, a black person is killed or murdered by a police authority or someone acting as a pseudo police agent. Every 28 hours. So it hasn't changed.
like a cousin to the KKK.
Yeah, right.
Well, the last item we had on the list, it just seems to really pale. But in the larger picture, it doesn't. But we're talking about this South Dakota governor. In these last few minutes we have left, this South Dakota governor, Kristi Noem, very conservative person, says she's getting out around her state and talking to people, and that they're really hurting.
Yes.
With the taxes, the groceries, going to the grocery store. And she said, well, we've got the money. We have the money, surplus, lots of states having surplus funds now.
Right.
And so, including Mississippi.
Yeah.
And so she said, we want to eliminate that. If you'll reelect me to become governor, I'm going to push it through, and we're going to make sure that we eliminate that 4.5% grocery tax.
Yes.
So many want to lower the income tax, but people can live without lowering the income tax.
Right.
You got to have the groceries.
Right.
So, and here in Mississippi, it's the highest tax in the nation at 7%.
Yes.
In Jackson, it's an extra percent, 8%.
8%.
In Jackson.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, now whether you want to call it a re-election ploy or whatever, but from where we sit here, it sounds like it's a real life issue that's going on, and it's going on in more places than Mississippi and South Dakota.
Right.
Somebody, I can't remember the reference right now, but saying that if we eliminated it here in Mississippi, it would take away 267 to 3. Let's just split the difference and say $300 million a year wouldn't quite make it into the state coffers, and yet we have people boasting now. It seems like about multi-billion, $3, $4, $5 billion surplus.
Yes.
In the state treasury. So interesting. Thoughts on that?
Well, it's this tax on food seems to me to be ungodly. Because we all have to have food. We have to have water.
Well, they know that.
We have to have air.
Yeah.
And we have to have food. Come on.
Yeah.
And why it's taxed, I don't understand. I've come from a state that didn't have any tax on food.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No tax on food and no tax on any periodicals like newspapers and magazines because they wanted an educated populace. When I came to Jackson and I bought my first magazine and I said tax. And they were like, yeah, it's tax. I said, no. I said, I've never heard of that before.
Yeah.
I had to argue the point. I couldn't believe it.
Well, I think it's interesting that we have this this staunch Republican governor up there in South Dakota who has been mentioned favorably by our own staunch conservative governor here in Mississippi, wanting to make this change. And lo and behold, there's people in her own party in South Dakota that are pushing back on that. And another, we've kind of run out of time, but I think it's another thing that's really interesting, and then I give you the final thought, is the idea that 47% of our state treasury comes directly from the federal government, but they want to complain. They want to find reasons to not get rid of this grocery tax.
Right.
Horrible.
It's oppressive.
Seems immoral. Yes.
It is.
Yeah.
We have so many food deserts here, and we have a malnutrition problem. We have an obese problem.
Yeah, there's families in parts of Jackson, Mississippi that live out of Dollar General.
Right, which causes the obesity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're obese, but they're still malnourished.
Right.
Yeah. And so we have diseases here. You know, you look at a person over the age of 50, and so many of them are walking around limping.
Right. So much diabetes.
Yes.
Yeah. Very sad. Well, we thank you so much. We've run out of time, and we thank you so much for joining us, kicking off what we're calling our second season of Sizzling in Mississippi, episode 1 tonight, and we hope that you got something out of it and that you'll share it with your friends. Let people know, like the show. Be sure to keep those questions coming in and call-ins hopefully on the next show. We're going to do this once a week now, Mondays at 6:30 p.m. here at We Believe Digital. We've got all kinds of offerings here. If you go to the We Believe Digital website now, you'll see every day more and more improvements being made to the website to add in various content so that you can be the consumer on demand and get exactly what you're looking for when you come to We Believe. So like our show, share it with your friends. If you can send stars, send stars. If you can hit that donate button, we certainly appreciate it. It's not something that goes to us as the host of the show, but goes to defer the costs of the operating the studio. So thank you again. Have a great night. Stay safe out there. We'll see you next Monday night at 6:30.